Joining me today, a phenomenal guest, Robert Hanna. Robert is the founder and CEO of KC Partners, a world-leading legal talent solution and content creation firm. He's helped literally thousands of aspiring and qualified lawyers secure roles with some of the best law firms and corporations across the entire world. He's also the creator and host of the Legally Speaking podcast, proudly sponsored by Clio and ranked in the top 1% of all podcasts worldwide, with 450 plus, 500 plus episodes released across almost 7,000 cities. Through the show, his mission is inspiring legal minds and transforming legal futures. He's also a LinkedIn top voice, a UK Creator Accelerator winner, and a trusted advisor to LinkedIn. He co-founded the Great Big Legal Offsite, which we'll talk about today in the episode, a premier law firm leadership strategy event, and also Courtside Conversations, another thing we'll talk about in more detail during this episode. Furthermore, he serves as a strategic advisor and investor to legal tech startups such as Hector, Case Guru, and Lexidesk.ai. If that's not enough, he's a sought-after keynote speaker and moderator leading events for Thomson Reuters, Clio, Platform 9, and been featured in The Law Society, The Lawyer, Law.com, Above the Law, and Modern Law magazine. He's also collaborated with major brands including LinkedIn, Sky Sports, Netflix, and Business Insider, among others, hence why we're going to talk today about collaboration. Furthermore, he's a great guy. He's passionate about diversity, inclusion, and mental health in the law, supporting initiatives like Law Cares, and sitting as a board of advisors to NRG Lawyers. Beyond that, he's a mentor, a proud father, and a parent to Otto, his miniature dachshund. So glad to have Rob on today. All right, so we're talking today about collaboration. Let's start with this. How do you define collaboration?
Collaboration is domination. That's how I define it, in the sense of a lot of people historically thought reaching out to people that may even be competitors or people that may be taking market share as not a good strategic move. I've actually taken the view that collaboration is one of the best ways to grow strategically, particularly within legal. So I always use the analogy of we is greater than me. And I've done this right from the start. As you know, Jordan, you've been on my show before in the past. I've been on your show before in the past. This is another example of a prime collaboration. Why are we doing this? Well, it's quite simple, right? We want audience sharing. I'm going to share this with my community, which I've been building up since 2018, building goodwill, building human capital, relationship capital. Hopefully I give value to your audience today. I'm going to share your show with my community. You're going to acquire some audience, some trust, some reputational capital off the back of it. I'm going to acquire some new audience from you. It's a win-win collaboration coming from good spirits of just trying to help each other out in and around the legal community. But you'll know I have a legal recruiting business here in the UK. And when I first started, I needed a way to get exponential growth and to cut through. And collaboration was 100% the right way to do that. As you know, I launched the Legally Speaking podcast way back when, one of the early days to do that. And I was strategic in terms of the guests that I brought on. So the first major collaboration I did, and this was way back when podcasting's, some people are even, what is a podcast in sort of 2018 and, late 2017. I reached out to the top legal societies, one being the London Young Lawyers Group, which is a trusted network of about 7,000 lawyers in the UK, principally in London, but all across the UK. And I invited the chair and vice chair of that organization onto my podcast. At the time, it was a good experience. You'd invite them in, give them tea, give them coffee. It was all very exciting, podcasting, new and interesting. And what I wanted to do is obviously make sure I gave them a really good high quality interview and experience and shine a light on them. But what am I doing through that collaboration? They are going to be very motivated if we do a good job to share this with that 7,000 audience in their newsletters, in their social media campaigns, in their promotions for events through using the clips, the audios, the web forms, all of that good stuff. So right from the start, I saw the importance of collaborating with trusted networks, particularly within legal, for growth. And from there, it's snowballed. We've done huge collaborations with Society of Asian Lawyers over here in the UK. We've just recently done a collaboration with the National Law Review in the US, where we're doing sort of shares on YouTube, and we're getting our featured show on there, and other shows are doing it, and I encourage folks to do that. So yeah, modern collaboration is the smartest, most trusted way, I believe, to grow, get audience, get attention, and actually achieve what you're looking to try and do in terms of maybe getting more customers, more people coming to your door.
It's fascinating because you started it by saying domination, but you don't mean it from the standpoint of domination in the collaboration. It's the opportunity for so many of us that talk to the same person to dominate their
Yes.
experience.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I think it has to be authentic, right? I think that's the key is, right. If you're approaching collaborations through just trying to completely dominate to your point, then I don't think that's going to be a long-term collaboration. And so it'd probably be a short-term one, and that's a risk. So a lot of the collaborations we've done, the example I gave of the London Young Lawyers Group, we went on from there to do live events at the Supreme Court, the highest court over here in the UK, to be one of the first to put on. We did boat shows, we did in the summer. And so if you do it from a win-win and how can we add value and exchange and collaborate genuinely, then so many other things grow off the back of that. So yeah, if you're coming at it in terms of just wanting to reach out to someone just to immediately get their audience and truly transact, I don't think that's necessarily going to be a meaningful long-term collaboration, and it could potentially be more detrimental than what you're hoping for in the first place. So genuinely think of strategic partners where you can collaborate, where you can add value, and you see it as a long-term partnership.
So I want to talk about that in a second, but before we go deeper on that, should everybody be thinking about collaboration from their perspective, or are there certain types of people where collaboration is more important?
Uh, I think we should all be thinking of an element of collaboration at every aspect of it, whether you run your own business as a law firm owner, whether you're a lawyer and have your own career. Who can you be collaborating with? Could you be creating a mini, I do a lot in the legal careers space, right? Helping people move careers. Of course, I'm most known on the legal media side, podcasting side, etc. But if you're a corporate associate or corporate attorney and you're looking to become partner, could you maybe be collaborating with two or three other people in the corporate space, setting up a once a month, virtual Zoom get together to share ideas, maybe careers tips or information with one another? And equally, if you're a law firm partner, could you be doing something similar with other law firm partners that, you could be sharing ideas, helping one another, lifting people up, whatever it might be. So I think everyone should have an angle of collaboration if you're looking to grow, if you're looking to go further, if you're looking to achieve success, because it's very, very hard to do these things alone. And actually, what I've found, what's kept me motivated to run a lot of the initiatives I've been running for many, many years, it keeps you excited, it keeps it fun, it keeps it interesting, and actually you have an element of collaboration as well, that if you've come to the table, you don't want to let the other party down, so you actually bring out the best in yourself too.
There comes a time in most firm owners' life where they're ready to make that switch, where it's no longer about survival. It's about how to thrive. It's about how to have the practice they've always dreamed of and the life that they've wanted to live forever. That's what I help people do. I've done it myself, and I've worked with dozens, if not hundreds of other firms to help them implement similar systems. So if you're tired of doing everything and not knowing your numbers and having no idea where your next case will come from and worrying about how to make payroll, and you want to get over those things, click the link below and let's reach out to see how we can work together to help you achieve those goals.
Interesting. Well, so I find myself convincing some of my clients about this from the standpoint of a case, right? Like, you will co-counsel a case with another lawyer, you will bring in a jury consultant, you will have an expert witness. Like, those are all collaborations, right?
Yeah.
The amount of times that attorneys are so good on that, but then from a growing their firm business development standpoint, they're like, "Who wants to work with me?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? You're a go-to
Yeah.
trial attorney. Like, everybody wants to be associated with you."
Yeah. And it could be outside of the box collaborations. What I've done recently is I've really sort of thought differently on the event side of my legal community play. So early this year, I launched an initiative called Courtside Conversations with a dedicated PR agency over here in the UK. I've never really worked with a PR agency or collaborated with a PR agency before, but I thought, actually, these are areas where I can be learning. That is their absolute success. I've been working in legal, I've been producing content, I've been podcasting, but every day we want to be learning new tricks, tips, ideas to get better. And off the back of that, I launched a whole new podcast and paddle tournament in Dubai, different location, different format, networking opportunities, sunshine, success, fun. And we managed to get 50 people from all over the world to come and play in this paddle tournament. We had networking, and then there's been business opportunities off the back of that. And that was through me thinking of a different out of the box collaboration with a PR agency, not just necessarily a law society or a law firm, the traditional, conventional things. but actually something slightly different, but bringing value to the people that I want to be talking to, which is law firm owners and lawyers, works super well. And then hopefully we're going to be doing one in Singapore. We're going to be doing one in the US potentially at some point next year. So watch this space. Yeah, I'm all about thinking slightly different as well.
But there has to be some sort of there's a reason you went with that PR agency though, right? I mean, there's a core values connection. There's something.
Yeah, and this is again to the point of things that. So I'd met that PR agency when we were doing the media with the Legally Speaking podcast at the Lawyers Retreat in Ibiza, right? So they were out there already doing the PR. So it's trusted networks again to the point that I'd met them at a event where I was doing the media and they were doing the PR, and the owner I just kicked it off with. We had shared values. They were also in these spaces where I was looking to talk to the same people as well. And we just literally over a sangria and a bit of a chat just said, hey, we like your energy, like your vibe, like what you're doing. And then fast forward, less than 6 months, we're hosting something out in Dubai. Incredible.
And I think there's so much benefit to what you just said, right? Because I think you get a lot of these firms or firm owners are like, hey, I need cases tomorrow. Like, who could send me cases? Let me connect with them. But here you had a much more specific connection, that deeper relationship, that better conversation. What advice do you have for other people trying to find collaboration along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, specific is terrific. I absolutely agree. I feel like you have to be open. It's the mindset to start with, right? You've asked the questions probably from mindset of certain individuals thinking, why do people want to do this with me? I don't think I have time. I'm not sure this is critical to my business. The key right now is keeping the lights on and cases. The problem I see, particularly if you're a small to mid-sized law firm, is if you're working in your business all the time, you've got a problem unless you've got other people working on your business. But you as a leader, as a business owner, talking to law firm owners, have a responsibility to be thinking about longevity, thinking about growth, thinking about sustainability, thinking about having the best, exciting the people that work for you, delighting your clients. And I think actually, if you thought about it from that perspective and dedicated time, and by the way, time could be 20 minutes a week to start with, in terms of these are my ideal collaboration partners. These are the 3 or 4 activities that I'm going to break down this week to actually make myself accountable on the collaboration front. So I would start small, or think of actually, why are you doing it in the first place? Like, what is your what? Like, why do you want to do it? Who would be your dream collaboration partners? How much time are you can you actually develop towards this? What does good look like? What does great look like? And just start taking action and breaking that down. And you'll be amazed by just actually having some accountability and some goals and some targets around it, the success you would have. So that would be the advice that I would say to people is, firstly, see this as a real win for your business and not just sort of, oh, this will be a nice thing to do, but actually I need to get my billable hours out, and actually start dedicating some time. And when you are dedicating that time, lean all into it. And of course, there's platforms like LinkedIn, we all know, that are out there, are great places to start. But yeah, I just feel like there's so much low-hanging fruit that firms are leaving on the table through not looking at it this way.
So, what are some examples of why to do it? Why to collaborate more? I think the obvious one, I think, is get more cases, but there's so much more to it than that, or there can be.
Yeah, I think also, one of the hardest challenges for firms is talent. I work in the talent space. So if you're seen as a firm that's modern collaborating, maybe you're collaborating with mental health organizations, or diversity, equity, inclusion organizations, helping push the profession forwards, or maybe you're helping or collaborating with training partners into profession. That is very attractive. Or maybe you're collaborating with some of the leading legal tech organizations out there and brands. These are big things that modern, lawyers and legal professionals are looking for about, do they care about me? What are some of the things that they're doing as an organization, more than just giving me cases where I'm just becoming a billable hour robot? People want more fulfillment. They want more belonging at these law firms. So I think actually through collaboration and putting your brand out there and being seen to be different, you can be hugely successful. I'll give an example here on the UK, and people may be following on the international circuit on LinkedIn, there's a gentleman called William Peake, who is the global managing partner of Harney's, which is a top offshore law firm. He has been leaning all in as a leader of a very, very successful law firm on LinkedIn, but has also been going out and speaking at events and speaking at certain places that his fellow counterpart, global managing partners, probably historically wouldn't have thought about doing. And so I've seen him at 4 or 5 when I've been doing the media at the moment, giving value, sitting on panels or opening offices in locations, collaborating with organizations, doing things slightly differently. And as a result of that, the business that just through that personal brand and him as a leader of a law firm is huge, but also, like as I say, their drive for people wanting to work for that firm and actually the enhancement of the overall brand of the firm has just gone through the roof. So I think there's really powerful ways that you can be and should be thinking about this, and actually, as I keep saying, that growth opportunity through is huge. Like I'll give an example. Like I host a League Speaking podcast, as you know. We could have continued to go by ourselves with this, but we were approached by Clio, the world's largest legal tech organization in the world, in 2021. We have worked day and night since that to mature, further deepen, and enhance that collaboration. Why? Because obviously Clio has a huge global footprint of law firms that they're looking to transact with and work with and build community. We're looking to try and build community. I've been invited out to their ClioCon for the last few years. I've been to Nashville, I've been to Texas, I've been to Boston. I've put on, I've been MC for some of their high profile events. I'm going to be MC for one of their events in April this year in London with all the C-suite coming over. So I'm getting put in places and spaces that necessarily I probably wouldn't have done throughout that collaboration, but I'm also giving value in terms of time and distribution and producing high quality content and getting my brand into their networks as well. So actually, as a result of that, the amount of speaking opportunities, the amount of people that have reached out to me, the amount of lead flow for my business off the back of that collaboration is huge. So again, so many reasons why this is a win.
Well, and I think, it's interesting. I want to go back to your last example. You're talking about that the lawyer who their firm would not be involved in these events, but I think normally, but I think that with modern day content, this is easier than ever because like you can branch out into a new country, a new conference, a new whatever. But then like when you bring that content back to your content pillars, your podcast, your LinkedIn page, the places where people already see you, you can stay top of mind with the people you already have while getting in front of a whole new person with this different collaboration. Like it's not a this or that. I think it's both of them power each other.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's huge upside for people that just can flick that switch in the head, because everyone will probably be listening to this a little bit. It may be their background noise and thinking, yeah, I know, but the cases need the cases need the time, the cases need the work, cases need the energy. If you can just give that little bit of energy to this and just test it. And look, it may be a bit hard to start with, but once you start seeing some wins or start seeing some traction off the back of it, I think it's going to be super powerful. And, you'll build community, and community is so important. People are craving a lot of human connection, particularly in the AI revolution and what we're seeing right now. It matters.
I love it. Well, and a couple questions ago, you mentioned like kind of the order of this. So you had the why to do it, then you talked about who to do it with. So walk me through some of your advice on who to collaborate with for everybody listening.
Yeah, I think so. Let's take the Clio example for us. There was a few reasons why it made sense. So firstly, I have a legal recruiting business, and I did the research. And this is actually, if you're going to collaborate with organizations and really high profile organizations, it's on you to do your research and understand how you can potentially add value to them, how you can be a trusted partner, how you can actually develop something in the future. I understood and researched Clio when they're a unicorn business, understood and saw them be the first Centaur, which has first become 100 million annual recurring SaaS-based business. And of course, most recently, they've done the largest acquisition in legal tech history of Velix for over $1 billion. Their mission is to transform the legal experience for all. So when we first started working with Clio, they didn't move upstream. They hadn't made any acquisitions into the big law market. Whereas late, they've moved into Clio Operate, big law market. My legal recruiting business, right from the day one, is big law, right? So there is a natural synergy there in terms of maybe context that I could pass over to Clio as part of their longer term mission and vision. Not straight away, but definitely I understood where their direction of travel was going to be and how it could be valuable. But equally, as Clio are now moving into that direction, that's super valuable for me and my business in the sense of, I'm MC for an event literally in 2 or 3 weeks, which has about 5 or 6 partners of big law that are ideal people that I would like to network with and potentially do business with through this collaboration. That is going to be so warm, right? That it's going to be such a warm introduction. Unless I do something drastically stupid and mess it up, the likelihood is off the back of that introduction, I'm going to be having some follow-up conversation, right? And so, yeah, I think of when it comes to the who, like who is their end audience? Who are they looking to talk to? How could that be a strategic fit? How could you be valuable to them? Because everyone's favorite radio station is WITFM, right? Wait, what's in it for me? So think
Mm.
about that when you're thinking of the who. And then also, I'm not going to swear on your show, like energy is everything for me. So
So you can swear, it's all right.
no, I'll keep the professionalism as high as I can. I just feel like I've got to the stage of my career professionally now where I don't want people that drain my energy. I don't care if you are the best in the world and you could bring me millions and millions of dollars. I'm not selling myself out anymore. So I genuinely want to
Right.
collaborate with people that bring the right sort of energy. You talked about values before, right? With the relationship on the Courtside Conversations podcast and paddle example. That really matters to me. My late grandfather, who was a lawyer, always said, live respected, die regretted. So for me, values and ethics and business are really important. So if they're important to you as well, regardless of how good the collaboration might be, stick to your guns and wait for another opportunity, because I can see so many times people collaborate and things go wrong or it turns into a real debacle. And that's probably because you weren't true to really what's important to you.
I had a guest on my podcast who asked me a great question. It was, what is the most common thing that you hear your guests talking about over and over again? And I come back to one of two things, either intentionality or coming up with a really clear picture of your ideal client. Who is the person you want to work with? So from that, I put together our ideal client avatar sheet. It's about 30 questions that you can put together to get a really strong picture of your client avatar. And then what I suggest you do with that is figure out all the things you're doing that don't make sense for that person, get rid of them. Stop doing them right now. And instead replace that time with things that do make sense for your ideal client avatar. And when you're in ChatGPT or other LLMs, drop in your avatar, tell it, look, I'm trying to target these people. I'm writing to these people. I'm putting together a party for these people. That will help you get better responses from AI and your staff and your marketing, which will ultimately lead to better results, which will ultimately lead to you living the life you've always dreamed of.
And I want to highlight that, right? This is not just you in legal recruiting and them in legal tech. It's not just the two of you looking at big law from the standpoint of, not just law, but big law on this focus. It's also the values. It's also the focus. It amazes
Yeah.
me like how deep we can make these collaborations, and the deeper you research it, I think the more genuine and authentic you can make the connection.
Yes. And that's right. That's what we're all looking for. It's that authentic connection with people. That's what counts. And just being prepared to, I wouldn't say sacrifice, invest the time in this. And I tell you, down the line, that the returns will be exponential.
Well, also on top of the ROI returns, imagine the more time you get to spend with people that have the same outlook, the better it is, right? Like if you're spending a ton of time with other people that are looking for this genuine connection, this authentic overlap, those people are awesome.
They are, and there's so much you can learn. I always say before you earn, you must learn. You drop the L from learn; it spells earn. Collaborating is one of the best ways to learn, particularly if you are. I would say do a lot of legal tech content. I do a lot of legal AI content. I'm speaking to people, and every day is a school day for me still, when it comes to how fast moving this is. And through, collaborating, whether it's from guests that I'm inviting onto my show, whether it's through putting on events or working with brands or sponsors, I'm learning so much. And so actually you're getting free information, which is our greatest asset in terms of being able to make decisions. And yet everyone, everyone focuses on ROI. I don't know if I said this before when I came on your show, but COI is really important as well, and that's the cost of inaction. So is there a cost to you not doing any of this that we discussed today in the next 3 months, 6 months, next year, particularly if you start seeing other firms taking action on some of this? That's the way to
Sure.
look at it, in terms of you could be, and so I'm saying you're leaving low hanging fruit on the table. some of the bar associations, some of these organizations, like there's so many easy wins that you could do that would garner, gains. And that's to the point of, the who, the why, etc., etc. is why are you doing it? Are you looking to try and attract more talent? Are you looking to try and attract a different profile of client? Are you maybe doing it to try and add more value to your clients? Could you even collaborate with your clients? Have you got some clients that are opening huge new offices? Could you put on a networking whatever? Whatever it could be, these things, think about why it's important. So for me, I'm trying to build a global, kinder, more innovative, future-proof legal community, right? And I'm trying to transform legal minds and inspire legal futures. That's what I'm all about. I want to help people have successful legal careers, stay in the law in whatever capacity that might be, and fuel them with content, collaboration, and community as they go through their journey. And if I do that, then I'm going to stay relevant, because everyone, particularly in and around law, is quite passionate about their career. And so I'm passionate about trying to help them and have these fulfilled careers and bring more opportunities in and around the world of law.
I love that. All right, so the next prong that you mentioned earlier is like the what to do, what the collaboration actually looks like. I know you've given some examples, but walk me through the process of figuring out like how did you come to those examples? The paddle in Dubai, the podcast. Like what were the things that helped you realize this is the right platform for collaboration or event or whatever?
I always believe that you need to innovate, and I always want to try new and different things. And so I felt podcasting was getting quite saturated in a good way. I feel like, podcasting when it first started was great, but what I didn't want to do with my Legally Speaking podcast is just create a podcast. I wanted to create a digital media asset, that might be scalable and sellable in the future, but also have more wraparounds and more connectivity to it. Because a great way to do that was thinking long term in terms of, again, what's the end in mind? I wanted to grow this into a digital asset that potentially would be valuable, et cetera, et cetera. Is okay, let's go into the event space. Let's go into slightly different events and invite people that maybe have been on the show or who are fans of the show, or client prospective people that might want to come onto the show, and give them a different experience. Or maybe I can't invite everyone onto the show because there's only 52 weeks a year, and that's only 52 guests, and we already have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of outstanding guest requests. But I don't want to lose that audience. I don't want to make them feel not seen, heard, and valued. So what I was thinking about is, A, can we be new, different, innovative? B, can there be another way to connect? And C, like, I'm going to get obviously more visibility. I'm going to get more interest. There's going to be more opportunities off the back of that that's going to happen. So when I met the lady Whitney in Ibiza and her PR agency, I thought this is great. And the other thing is following your passions. Like, podcasting was a passion. I've been playing a lot of paddle recently. That's the beauty of entrepreneurship. You can follow your passions. And so I was, really enjoying playing paddle. Thought, if I can blend that with podcasting, imagine sort of, it's almost like post-match interview style. You've been playing an NFL game, you've just won, and you're being interviewed on the side. You're sharing your sort of, how it went, what you like, what your trainings you've been working on, kind of relate that into a legal setting and mixing up. It worked super well. We had podiums, medals, food, drinks. We had a live
Oh,
DJ.
wow.
You could just imagine, like, in the sunshine, all great vibes. And that was really what I wanted to be known for. I want to be known as someone who lifts people up, brings great energy. And once the Legally Speaking podcast, which still has its new formats, we do mini series, but now these events and different immersive events. And another one is called the Great Big Legal Offsite we did last year, where we had a 8-foot AI robot called Titan going around. We had X Factor and Americans Got Talent, like MC as our MC for the day. We had monster trucks. So, like, when people come connected to the brand, is like, I want them to feel fun, I want them to feel connected, I want them to feel seen, I want them to feel heard. And then through authentic, hopeful value, opportunities are going to come off the back of that for me.
Well, it amazes me, like you make it seem like it's such a easy add-on, but like I'm sitting here, I'm like, all right, you took a podcast and now you have an 8-foot robot and monster trucks, right?
Yeah.
Like to me, it makes sense in retrospect, but like just the way that you describe it as like this easy add-on is just fascinating to me.
No, and you raise a good point, but I feel like it's the good to great Jim to Collins, which has probably been done to death and said a million times on podcasts, but it's momentum, right? The flywheel effect, in terms of, you start with a podcast. Maybe it's just once a month because you're too busy. Then it becomes once a week. Then you start looking at different ways of curating the content. Then you look at different styles. And then for us, it was like, well, let's be bigger, let's be bigger, let's be bigger. Because I'm all about growth, right? For me, I feel like if you're not growing, you're dying. It's that
Sure.
brutal. And so I was thinking of this in terms of this is great, but what more can we do? What more can we do? What more can we do?
Mm.
And so I'm always looking at the sort of momentum. And then through these collaborations, ideas get chucked at you. So the robot one that you referenced there, the great, I would encourage people go and look at Great Big Legal Offsite on the Legal Stream podcast. There's some hilarious photos on there. We had 250 law firm owners in a room on a island where you go past crazy golf course, you go past the zoo. Like it's a real experience, taking people out the stress and pressure of being on big, high profile cases, demanding clients. Just one day, we say unplug for today to plug in for tomorrow is what we say. And it's a real offsite immersive experience. But I relocated from London to the north of the UK. And I was just going to my local, where I walk my dog locally. And that's actually an adventure park, which also has businesses on there as well. And I just sent a DM to someone because I'm in a very remote village. It's picturesque, nice in the northwest, but very random place. I had like two contacts on LinkedIn. So I'm always thinking about that lived in the area. And I said to one of them, like, hey, I'm moving here. They're like, what? You've left the city of London? We have grandparents here and family support. That was the reason. But I was thinking of networking, reached out to them. Anyway, I just went and had a coffee with them one day. And then we we're just brainstorming. We're like, let's do an event. They suggest let's do an event. And so people then wanted to collaborate. And as a result of that, that's how the Great Big Offsite started. So sometimes it might be a quick LinkedIn message, reaching out to someone. Someone might suggest ideas. And through all of these things, momentum, opportunities, things happen. But yeah, the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. I think so many people will hear this and just let it go by. But those who do, I think will be really, really successful.
But like the two things I want to touch on from there. So one is that you mentioned like start once a month, start small, like see if there's proof of concept. But
Yeah.
then the other thing is I think that so there's this thing called the reticular activation system. When you buy a specific type of car, now you see it so much more often because you're
Yeah.
geared into it. But with collaboration, you've done that, right? Like when you're
Yeah.
constantly looking for what's the next step, where can I provide more value? You reach out to the two people you know in this part of town, and next thing you know, you have this 250 person event because you're looking for that next step because you have your eyes open to the opportunities.
And absolutely, and agree. And I think just for to keep this as a serious activity, everything that I'm doing is linking to that mission or to what will be valuable for me. Because I know this may sound all fun and exciting. People be like, yeah, but I haven't got time to go and put on an event with a robot. I'm not sure that's really going to be valuable to me. Well, actually, from those law firm partners that are in there, I'm getting instructions on recruitment mandates, or I'm getting paid opportunities to moderate for other events, or other things are happening off the back of it, or I can facilitate other deals for legal tech companies that I'm involved in to connect the dots. So, there's strategic meaning behind all of this as well. And actually, you'll find the more fun you have in business, the more opportunities come your way.
Sure. Well, and the more fun you provide to others. I mean, how many
Yep.
events do we go to that are boring or super saturated, but when you have that event that stands out, there's so many more memories. You think of those people so much more often, and therefore it leads to better opportunities.
And you'll know from a content bucket perspective as well, the more collaborations you do, the more content repurposing you can do, the more, putting into campaigns for your marketing team, putting into campaigns for, drives that you might be doing in terms of, certain areas you're looking to grow, or you're looking to attract people, or looking to do business. So, I have probably 1,000 years worth of content I can repurpose through the collaborations I've done over the years. Even just this simple podcast, right? We could chop this up into 150 shorts and do a whole YouTube shorts campaign, targeted on certain things in the future. So the other thing is we live in a content fueled society. And if you're collaborating with trusted networks, so I've done a lot with the Law Society of England and Wales, which has an audience of around 2 to 300,000. The main professional body over here. I've spoken at their events. I've invited their presidents onto my show. We've done collaborations. Again, that's good content. That's trusted content that I want to be resharing because it's already got that brand equity and that, I guess, authenticity attached to it, that it's a no-brainer. So this is the other thing for you in terms of these collaborations. It gives you stuff to go out and talk to people and talk to the market. Because a lot of people now are online. So finding good ways to connect with them online through trusted sources is a really good, smart play.
Well, and I also think it's easier, right? Like,
Mm.
I don't know how many episodes of the podcast you have,
Yeah,
hundreds.
nearly, yeah, 500, coming up to 500.
500,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So like for you to sit there and talk for 500 hours over this time frame would be that much more difficult than interviewing, 500 different people, 250 different people, and filling in the gaps. And even here,
Yeah.
like, a lot of what you're talking about is the episodes you've had, the guests you've had, the experiences you've put together. And so, like, by creating your content, you have more content to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's again one of the key things. I was saying before, the learning piece through collaboration. It's a great shortcut way. I've been intentional about guests that I've wanted on the show as well, because you can be nosy as a podcast host, as you can get under the skin, and you've been sort of asking, clarify, tell me a bit more how the why, whatever. And so when we've been having guests, I am quite intentional about some of the questions that I ask, because I want that knowledge. I want
Sure.
to understand. I want to be better educated by someone who's way smarter than me about this zone of genius that they're in, that is important for our listeners, and in turn it's going to be helpful for me. I'm going to sound more educated when I go out and speak on other shows or show up at an event, whatever it might be. So yeah, really good point. I agree.
Yeah, I wish I remember who this was. So like I'm like $1,000 an hour is what my clients pay me. I was doing this podcast and it came up before, after, during, whatever, and the person was like, "Oh, so I just got like $500 of free advice in this half an hour podcast," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess, huh."
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
it's true, like you have the
yeah.
opportunity to tap into, and I always love, like, so for this podcast, we're a lot more life focused. And so
Mm,
it always cracks me up because I get a lot of people talking about what they normally talk about, but then we get to fill in but like, what's the fun part of this? How does it bring
yeah,
you a better life? How does that part come in? And so I'm
yeah.
curious, from the collaboration thing, like, talk to me about the genuine enjoyment you've gotten out of a lot of it.
Yeah, I have got real enjoyment. The things that I've got from it as well is it's taken me around the world. I love to travel. So, from a lifestyle perspective, I've mentioned I've got to go to Dubai, Ibiza, the US. Obviously, I'm based in the UK, continental Europe. I'm hoping to go out to Singapore. And the beautiful thing is I can work that with a young family as well. So I have a young daughter. So I think that the travel has been wonderful. I like to get out there and see the world. I think the level of connections and friendships, is turning digital handshakes into hugs. Genuinely, building friendships, deep rooted friendships. So it doesn't feel like work, to your point of, this is fun. So when I do the GBLO, the Great Big Legal Offsite, or when I did the course, it was just a laugh, and we always say, let's not too much put pressure on this. Let's, and if you find those people with shared values, or even if we're building the plane in the air or speakers dropped out last minute, these things, yes, they're problems, but it's not the stress that, or you're nervous, or you have that, oh my God, this person's going to kill
Mm.
me. So finding the right people is really, really important. So yeah, friendships, travel, business opportunities off the back of it. Yeah, and just great energy. And I believe everything is energy. You just cannot underestimate the importance about being around your people and finding your tribe. And that's your tribe with different views, right? I've had people speak on my event that we have very differing views, but it's healthy debate, right? And I think that's good, discussions. So I'm not saying, we needed to have a load of yes people in the same room. But what I'm saying is at least people share the same values and can have differing opinions.
When I first started my firm, my dream was to be able to clone myself so that I could do everything. At some point, I realized that was my nightmare, and that's when my firm achieved actual success. Because I'm good at some things and terrible at most things. So it's not about replicating me. It's about finding and hiring people whose talents are my weaknesses. If you want a chance to get a copy of that and implement it, including how to incorporate AI and other modern technology, click the link below and buy our hiring process SOP and ultimately find success a lot faster than I did.
And I will too. I'm gonna give Rob the walk award here. If you are ever at CleoCon or a conference he's in, he's absolutely doing this. Like, you
Yeah,
are chatting with everybody as if you have been friends for decades. Like, it really
yeah,
is. I can tell how genuine it is for you to make
yeah.
those. What did you say? The online to real
Yeah, the digital
handshakes.
handshakes
There
into
we go.
hugs. Yeah, and folks can go to our website and see some of the photos and like how genuine that is on our like ClearCon clips like last few years. And we'll be out in Boston again this year in October. So if any of your listeners are there, come and say hi. We'll be in the median area. Like it'll be a real pleasure. Yeah, I feel like law is hard, right? It's a hard, stressful job, demanding hours. You'll know this. You've got family members, etc. Who've been through law in the law, etc., etc. So do I. The more fun we can bring to people, if we can bring smile to people's faces during their careers or running their businesses, then I feel like we've done our job.
I love it. All right, so anything I'm missing as we get towards the end of this conversation that you want to make sure we cover?
No, I just feel like there is a real need for all of us not to keep our heads buried in the space of. I'm not saying get caught up in an AI bubble. I'm not saying that at all. But I do think we all need to be investing time in understanding that the workplace is going to change like has never changed before. The way technology is going to shape and mold that is going to be like never before. So, what I would say is if you are still operating in quite a 1990s or even early 2000s fashions, when it comes to the way you're transacting with your clients, whether it comes to the way you're positioning your brand or getting out there, not losing your tone of voice and authenticity, I think you need to really look at that because yeah, there is no slowing down in the world that we live, rightly or wrongly. So I would just caution you to take the time. It could be even listening to podcasts. You know, it could be 20 minutes a day. It could be listening to some of your guests that you have on, Jordan, for example, on certain areas. But just invest time in self development every week on particularly where the puck is going, because I don't think you can afford not to. Just the world we're living in. But other than that, no, just go out there, collaborate with people, be yourselves, have fun. And yeah, I'm always contactable. If this has sparked any ideas for anyone of your listeners about a collaboration, we're always open to hearing about it as well.
Yeah, I'll make sure we get we'll have you do your contact info towards the end. But I want to highlight that because the AI is going to take a bunch of jobs, but I think it's taking the jobs of people that don't know how to use AI, right? Or on the flip side, like if you're sitting here and there are two lawyers at the firm, you and another lawyer, and both of you bill the same amount of hours, but one of you has a podcast and all these extra connections and generates more business, which one's keeping the job, right? Like it's a to me it's an easy there is no truly altruistic thing. So I think all this stuff is fun and great, but there is also a really easy bottom line when this is successful.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it will be successful, right? If you know, if you go at it and you give it everything, there's no reason why it won't be successful.
How do we know that? Well, like, how do we know that our collaboration is successful? What are we looking for?
Well, I think you have your own metrics. So for me, when I first started, when I gave that first example of the London Lawyers Group, I was looking at that. That was looking at it more in terms of lead flow, like lawyers. So I had direct people in that society reach out to me and say, "Hey, actually, I'm looking for a new job," or "Hey, actually, we are
Mm,
hiring in my firm. You should reach out to X." So that was way back then. So it's depending on looking at what's important to you. Now I'm looking for just the overall growth of my community because I'm working with brands, I'm working with sponsors, I'm looking for distribution, I'm looking for connection. So whenever I'm doing something now, I'm looking for, are we growing? Are we bringing value to those new audiences that potentially could then be super valuable to the other brands that we're in and around collaborating with? So and that's more on my legal media side. So the legal recruiting side is now a 10-year-old business. So we have a lot of
mm.
trusted relationships. So people that I placed that as baby lawyers are now senior lawyers and becoming my client, and which is really nice. So that relationship capital and that customer lifetime value is coming home to roost. Doesn't mean we don't do anything on the legal recruiting side, but it has freed up time for me to be working on my business more, to building more brands, becoming more visible, to be getting more opportunities, which in turn still does provide lead flow to my business.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, it just when you come into it from the right perspective and you connect with the right people and you put on the right events, collaboration, newsletter, podcast, event,
Yep.
true events, whatever it is, like it's really hard not to win.
Yeah, it is. And I think you have to get out of your own way. So when a lot of people would write to me. This is again, I think it was the very competitive legal people. Some of my loyal listeners. So when I first started, I was quite early. People write to me and be like, "Hey, Rob, you seen there's another legal podcast that's launched?" And I'd write back to them and say, "Good. I'm really happy for them. I hope it's a success. There's enough opportunity for all of us. There's enough space for all of us here, right?" And I think certain law firms sometimes, oh, there's another law firm that's doing that, or they've just dropped their prices. We should drop ours. Like completely wrong mindset. It's like focus on your mission, your vision, where you're looking to go. And if you're good enough, and like for me, I'm always thinking of what's next. I was like, that's good. Yeah, you go and do that. By the way, we're over here now. We're doing this next. So, I just don't think you should get too caught up in what your competition is doing. Observe, Yes, of course, if people do start copying you, that's business. Just get over it. But just remember why you're doing what you're doing and always be innovating and you'll stay ahead.
Well, and I just, you can run Microsoft Word on an Apple computer. Google makes a Google Chrome app for the iPhone. Like at the highest levels, there's so much collaboration,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, that's what you see. I think we get stuck in the weeds of the competition, but like you're competing in such a small pie, like, oh, there's another law firm in my town doing this area of law who's down the street from me. Great. But the world's so much bigger than that.
Yeah, and another just again when I'm involved in businesses, I like founders who see that as well. So I'm involved in LexiDesk, which is a voice AI receptionist for law firms, client intake platform. And we were looking at the data, and we saw that a lot of people just weren't answering the phone, so they're missing cases. So this is a 24/7 thing. Great, it gives the summaries, all the AI does its great job. But actually, there was a large percentage of those inquiries coming in that weren't relevant. Right. So in theory, they are dead leads historically. What have we done? We've set up a referral network where actually off the back
Mm.
of those leads that maybe you do personal injury, but this is a estates matter, you can then refer that, get a commission, be a good citizen, create friend relationships, collaborate with those law firms. And off the back of that, good things will probably happen in the future. So yeah, I'm always looking at also for founders from an investment perspective that also see the value in that. And then actually that could be a value proposition to your existing clients to give them upsell value and potentially also to just the wider legal community. So yeah, always be thinking about this, in my opinion.
Well, ultimately, I mean, like, let's take Facebook as an example. All of us users have collaborated so much on Facebook that we've become a product, right? Like, in essence, there's so many people and such good information that they can target ads really well. So you're talking about from this standpoint, like you could create such a network for this AI program that they make so much money off just the internal referrals that like the cost of the program is super easy because you're making it back tenfold, even if it doesn't help your own firm, just
Yeah.
from, the network that's been built. Like it just, there's so many ways to win when you keep your eyes open to it and think collaboratively. Collaboratively.
Yeah, I like that word. Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think hopefully there's been one or two things people will take away from this and take action on. But I just want to stress that if it's meant to be, it's up to me, right? So don't listen to these things and let these things pass. Take one step from today, one thing that may have landed with you, and go and like squash that out. You really put some time into that. I guarantee you, it could be, by the way, shooting your shot to Jordan. But I liked his episode. Like I feel like I can come and add value to his community. Rob's inspired me to shoot my shot and actually pitch myself to be on Jordan's show, right? And maybe I've helped someone. Maybe you'll get an influx of inquiries again on top of already. I know you've got tons of people already wanting to come onto your show, but maybe that could be the idea, and maybe what people are wanting to do, right? And maybe it's a case of that inspiring thought. Just take action. Like so many people, particularly in the legal world, overthink, procrastinate. Done is better than perfect. Perfect never gets done. Just go out there and take some action. That's what I've
Love
done,
it.
and I'm just snowballing.
Awesome. All right. So for anybody who's been listening for the last, 15 minutes or so, smart enough to want to connect with you more, check out the podcast, maybe attend an event, need some help with legal recruiting. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
LinkedIn, just Robert Hanna on LinkedIn. Give me a follow and send me a DM there. Happy to talk. Would love to hear from you.
Awesome. And just for anybody who is listening and not watching, Hannah's Hanna.
That is correct. Yes, thank you.
Awesome. All right, man. Thank you so much. We'll see everybody back here next week for next episode. In the meantime, do what Rob says. Make that one reach out. Ask for that one opportunity. Like put yourself out there and see what happens.
Absolutely. You're only one connection away from changing your life. Jordan, it's been an absolute blast. I really appreciate you having me back on your show. Love your work. Love what you're doing. And yeah, look forward to more collaborations in the future. But for now, bye-bye.